Welcome back. And I hope you are enjoying these tappings that I'm doing for you, because they really do help. They make a huge difference to your health, your emotional health. And when you learn how to tap, when you master tapping and you use it on a regular basis, your life is so much different than it is now. It's so much better than it is now. I've explained to you about all of the different points in the meridians that are used in tapping. Tapping, of course, is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. It's a technique to free you of negative emotions. The one I'd like to talk to you about today is grief. Grief is terrible, isn't it? We've all experienced grief, from losing our darling little pets to losing our loved ones. We've all experienced grief, and it can sit with you for a long time. The thousands of clients that I have seen over the many years that I do my work that have carried grief have struggled with learning how to come to terms with a lot of it. Time is a big healer. Time does help. You know, I know from my own experience, I've lost my darling little pets and things like that over the years, and it has taken me a long time to get used to them not being around anymore, and getting used to not having them in my life anymore. And of course, it's the same with people. When we lose our loved ones, it takes time. It takes time to heal and to come to terms with losing them. And so grief is difficult. It's a very difficult emotion. And I'm always saying to people, you have the right to grieve your way. No one has the right to tell you how to grieve. We are all different. We are all individuals. Some of us like to talk about the ones we've lost. Others don't. They can't even mention them without getting emotionally upset, because they're not ready yet to do that. And so we have to understand that. If you know of anybody that's going through grief, maybe you'd like to share today's information with them, because I know it's going to help. If you search tapping on YouTube, you will find hundreds of people that do it. But if you read up on it, read up on the scientific evidence that has been brought forward, then you'll realize why so many people are teaching it and helping people to recover from so many negative emotions with tapping. And so today we're going to tap on grief. I've spoken to you before about the karate chop. If you haven't watched me before, the karate chop is one of the points, the meridian point. So we tap on the meridians when we tap on with tapping. We tap on the meridians. The meridians talk to every single part of our body. And so the different meridians have different emotions. The karate chop is all about new experience, change. So when we tap on this, the body pricks its ears up and says, oh, here she comes. She's doing some changes again. That's exactly how it is. And so we tap it on that, and we everything's done in threes. Everything's done in threes, the magic number of 3. There are so many things on this planet that are in threes. It's a magical number for some reason. So we tap on this. We do it 3 times, and what we do is we acknowledge the emotion that we are about to tap on. So we say to our body, I know we've got this. I know we're suffering and struggling with this, and so that's okay, because that is okay. It's all right to do that. And then what we do is we go around all the different points. Now we have the eyebrow. And it doesn't matter what side you tap on, it really doesn't. You can tap on this side, you can tap on that side. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. That meridian talks to that meridian. This meridian talks to this meridian. So, you know, it's okay. You'll see me swap over sometimes. Doesn't matter. You could do the same. So the eyebrow is all about trauma. This is the trauma meridian. This trauma from past or present. When you come to this side of your eye, this is all about internal conflict. You're feeling conflicted. You're very uncertain. You can't make decisions. You're feeling very, if ever you can't make up your mind about something, you are feeling a bit, oh, I don't know, just tap gently there, help to release that. Now, under your eye is anxiety. This is all about stress. This is the meridian under here. So when I tap, I just gently go underneath like that. I go under the eye. I don't just tap in one place. I actually travel underneath and around that eye socket there. The meridian under your nose here, that little thing there in the middle of your nose there, that's all about not feeling very supported. So you're feeling very unsupported. When you don't feel supported, you feel nobody supporting you, have a little tap there, okay? The chin is all about overwhelm, not coping. You're just not coping. If you're in a position where you're just not coping, just tap. Just do a bit of tapping and say to yourself, I can do this, I can cope, and you'll release that. These are just little points I'm pointing out, these meridians, what they do for you. When it comes to your collarbone, this is all about fear. Fear from the past, fear from the present, any fear at all. There's a tapping on fear, there's a tapping on all of these emotions and things for you to have a look at. When we get to the under the arm, this is where we're feeling a bit rejected. So it's just in the little socket here of the armpit. We don't feel, we feel rejected. We just don't feel as though anybody loves us or cares about us. Here is where our soul resides, in here. This is our soul. People think the soul's down here. No, the soul is up here. It's in our brain, and this is where everything gets assimilated and processed. So everything we're saying, we go up here, we awaken this one up, and it says, oh, okay. And it processes it. It processes it, takes it on, processes it. So it's very important to tap that there. Okay, it'll just process everything you've just said. And once you've done that, it'll then listen to everything, and you just keep tapping on it every 3 rounds. And so let's tap on grief, shall we? And I'm just going to tap on just grief itself, any sort of grief. But if there is somebody or something you're grieving, if you've lost a pet or whatever, you can say, you know, even though I'm grieving today or losing my little Charlie or whatever, you know, you could do that. You could do that. But just do this one with me. And then as you do tap in the future on your own grief and all the different grievances that maybe you have, you'll know what you need to say, because once you start using tapping regularly, you do become very confident with it, because you know it's going to make a difference. You've already experienced a lot of the changes that it's brought about in your physical anyway, and in the way you feel. Everything is done in 3s, and we always start off by thinking about the emotion and giving it a number from 1 to 10. 10 being the highest. And so I'm going to think about something, a grieving that I've experienced or whatever, and I'm going to think about the worst type of grief I've ever had to deal with, which is probably the loss of one of my pets, or a couple of my pets, the years gone by. And I'll think about how sad I felt and you know, how I grieved for them. And I'll take that up, and that'll probably be around about a number 8, because it's been so many years since I lost them. I guess I've healed a little bit, but I still grieve and miss them, even after all the years of them. I still grieve them because I miss them. You know, I wish they were still there. So it's still a part of grieving, isn't it? So I'm going to give it a number 8. Now you do the same. Think about the grief that you're trying to cope with at the moment and give it a number. Now, we're going to start. Take a deep breath. And we're going to start. We're going to say, even though I'm having trouble coping with this grief, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I'm finding it hard coping with this grief. However, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. All of this grief, it's not easy. However, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And so now we're going to start to acknowledge it a little bit more, because we need to acknowledge it. We need to let our body know that we are aware of it, and that we do accept that it does exist. We can't deny it because it is there. And so we now start to tap on the I. Here, the first one, all of this grief that's causing me trauma, all of this grief and upset in my body. You go down to the side of the eye. All of this grief is causing a lot of internal conflict. All of this grief that I'm trying to cope with under the eye. All of this grief. But some days I'm just so stressed because of the grief that I'm going through, all the grief that I'm remembering. All of this grief in my body, all of this grief that I'm carrying, all of this grief, this overwhelming grief that I'm having trouble with. All of this grief in my body. Sometimes I feel a little afraid whether I'm going to be able to handle this grief or recover from it. It's causing me a little bit of fear, all of this grief. All of this grief in my body. All of this grief. I am grieving very deeply. I am struggling with all of this grief at the moment. I am having trouble explaining how I feel, and I feel very anxious about that. Sometimes I don't really feel supported by others with my grief. I just find this grief just so overwhelming some days. And I get afraid of the grief that I'm carrying at times. All of this grief. All of this grief. All of the grief in my body. Last time now, all of this grief. All of the grief that I live with every day. All of the grief, sadness involved in my memories. All of the grief that some days I have trouble living with. All of this grief in my body. That at times I just don't feel supported with all of this grief around me. And I feel overwhelmed at times on the grief that I'm trying to cope with. All of this grief. There are days when I feel fearful. I feel afraid because I'm not sure if I can overcome this grief. All of this grief in my body. All of this grief. And take a deep breath. And it's possible that you've already felt a bit of a shift, because this is what happens, that when the emotion starts to break up and leave us, dissipate, we start to feel so much better within ourselves, and we're allowed to feel better. We're allowed to heal. It's okay. We don't have to carry grief our whole life. It's not a good emotion to carry anyway, but we mustn't feel guilty that and feel that we have to carry grief, because that really isn't the way it is. Everybody grieves differently, as I said before. But if you're ready now to move forward, and you want to eliminate this grief, then that's what we're going to do. And so it's okay to do that. It's okay to start healing now. It's time, okay? So let's hit this grief on the head. Okay, now we start to release it. When we say I, then that body's listening. I. It says, oh, okay, it's us, I. I now choose to release all of this terrible guilt, grief rather, I'm sorry, grief that I'm carrying. Guilt and grief, they go together. I now choose to release all of this grief. I'm letting it go. I'm releasing it now. I am releasing it now. I am letting it go. All of this grief, I'm letting it go now. I'm releasing it. I'm releasing it, letting it go. I am releasing all grief from past and present. So I no longer feel the trauma around the memories. I now release all of this grief that has caused me so much conflict and uncertainty. I'm letting it go now. I'm releasing all of this grief that has caused me so much stress and anxiety. I'm letting it go now. I am letting go this grief that at times has made me feel as though I am not supported. I'm releasing it now. All of this grief that has made me feel so overwhelmed at times, I'm letting it go right now. Because I'm going to start to be able to cope when I free myself of this grief. All of this grief that has created fear within me, that has made me feel afraid at times, all of that grief, I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm releasing it now. I'm releasing it right now. I'm letting it go now. I am releasing it now. I'm releasing all this grief now. I'm releasing it. Releasing it. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go now. Letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm freeing myself now. Take a deep breath. And so you probably feel a little bit different. And if you get a headache, have a nice big glass of water. In fact, it's a good idea to have a nice big glass of water before you start tapping, because your energy is moving around inside and things are happening and using up some of your energy to shift some of this as well. And if you are grieving deeply for someone, you can then say, well, let's say, for example, you've lost a loved one. You can say all of this grief for my darling Jack or my darling John, whoever my darling Mary, whoever's passed. You can just name them. You can name that when you do the tapping. Remember, there's nothing you can say that's going to hurt you here. This is just going to heal. This is going to heal. You use the karate chop to awaken your inner essence, your memories, your body that's holding, your solar plexus, sacral area, all of that emotion that's being held down there. Where is that? Our gut, which is what we say, our gut, our instinct. Whatever's been sitting in there for however long, that's what we're talking to. when we start to tap on this karate chop. And as we go around the meridians, we're talking and acknowledging in those first three that we go around. And the body's saying, yes, I know all of this. Yes, I'm glad you're talking to me about it. And that's really what it's all about. The body's acknowledging it and you're affirming it. You're saying, I know that's there. I know you're there. But now I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to start tapping and I'm going to get rid of you. And the body says, well, thanks for that. It's about time. And it's really as simple as that. It's a simple way of putting it in many ways. This doesn't have to be complicated because it's not complicated. It's a gift from the heavens. The discovery of this was something that this planet needs so badly because there are so many people going through such a lot of negative emotion. It's unfortunately, it's becoming a part of life, which is really quite sad. And that's why it's very important that we take responsibility here. Take responsibility for your health. You take responsibility for your health, your private health, your personal health. I'm not saying don't go to a doctor. No, I'd never say that. But what I'm saying is that you must take responsibility for your emotional health. It's so important to feed yourself with positive thoughts and words. It's very, very important. And if you have suffered grief, which is a part of living, grief is a part of life. When somebody passes or we lose something or someone, we grieve, but it's a part of life, the circle of life. And there are times when we can't come to terms with it because we just grieve too much. This will help you. This will help you to heal a little bit quicker. And that's what you deserve. And so tap. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Please, please use this tool. It's a wonderful self-healing tool. It works. It makes such a huge difference. And the evidence worldwide around tapping is phenomenal. It's a wonderful healing tool, self-healing. You can heal yourself with your words and the meridians. It's acupressure. You don't have to go and study for 10 or 15 or 20 years in China and learn acupuncture. This is acupressure. This is working with the meridians that talk to the body. It works. And so until next time, keep tapping. Bye-bye.